Level 1. The Candidate. You show up at basic underwater demolition SEAL training in Coronado, California, with a shaved head and the belief that wanting it badly enough will be enough. It won't be. There are 185 men in your class. By the end, there will be 34. The instructors don't care about your college degree or that you maxed every fitness test at Great Lakes. They care about one thing: whether you'll quit. Everything from this moment forward is designed to make you quit. You run 4 miles in boots on soft sand. You swim 2 miles in the ocean, wearing fins that tear your heels raw. You carry a 200-pound log over your head with your boat crew. And if one man drops his end, everyone starts over. The strongest man in your class quits on day 9, walks up to the brass bell, drops his helmet liner, and rings it 3 times. The sound carries across the beach. The instructors set out coffee and donuts next to the bell so you can watch your former classmates eat while you suffer. 3 more ring it before lunch. Then comes Hell Week. 5.5 days, 4 hours of sleep total. Not per night total. It starts Sunday at midnight. Explosions, fire hoses, instructors screaming, contradictory orders for 132 hours. You don't stop moving. You run over 200 miles. You carry boats on your head until the skin wears off your scalp. You sit in the Pacific in January until you shake so violently the man next to you thinks you're having a seizure. By Wednesday, you hallucinate. A man in your boat crew holds a conversation with someone who doesn't exist. 75% of your class quits during Hell Week. You don't quit. Not because you're tougher than the men who did. Some were tougher, stronger, faster. They quit because their minds told them to, and they listened. You didn't listen. That's the only difference. Level 2. The new guy. You graduate BUDS. You complete SEAL qualification training. 26 more weeks of combat diving. Land warfare demolitions. You earn your Trident pin. The Gold Eagle clutching a trident and an anchor and a flintlock pistol. They press it into your chest, and you think this is the beginning. Everything before was the audition. Your rank is Petty Officer, 3rd Class, E4, the lowest operational SEAL. You report to your first team, and you are nothing. The men here have deployments, combat experience, scars, and the kind of silence that comes from having done things they'll never discuss. You carry the heaviest equipment on every operation. You clean weapons that aren't yours. You shut up and learn. Your platoon is 16 men, 2 officers, 14 enlisted. The platoon chief is an E7 with 12 years of experience who reads terrain the way you read a menu. He can tell from the way a village dog barks whether the compound ahead is occupied. You think he's exaggerating until the dog barks wrong one night and the compound erupts with automatic fire. Your first deployment is 6 months of direct action raids, kicking down doors at 2 a.m. in places you'll never name publicly. You pull security on rooftops, while assaulters clear rooms below. You hear gunfire and shouting, and then silence, and wait for the radio call that tells you whether everyone is still alive. Your first firefight lasts 11 minutes. It feels like 11 hours. Rounds snap past your head, and you realize the sound isn't a crack. It's a miniature sonic boom from a bullet close enough to kill you if you'd been 6 inches to the left. After the firefight, your hands shake for 20 minutes. The chief sees it and says nothing. His hand shook once too. They stop around the 3rd deployment. That's also when you stop calling home every night, because talking to your family feels like translating between 2 languages you no longer speak equally. Level 3. The Operator. E5. Petty Officer, 2nd Class. 2 deployments behind you, and you're starting to understand the rhythm, the workup cycle, 18 months of training before each 6-month deployment, the monotony of range time.
Thousands of rounds per week until reloading becomes unconscious. You specialize. Every SEAL picks a skill set that becomes their identity within the platoon. You become the breacher, the man who opens doors, sometimes with explosives, sometimes with a ram, sometimes with a shotgun loaded with breaching rounds. You learn how much C4 it takes to blow a hinge without killing everyone on the other side. The answer depends on the door. The frame, the material, the standoff distance. Get it wrong, and people die. The third deployment changes you. Your team extracts a high-value target. The intelligence says he's alone. He isn't. There's a woman and 2 children in the back room. The target pulls a child in front of him while reaching for a weapon. Your teammate takes the shot, because there is no other option. The round passes inches from the child's head. The child is unharmed physically. You think about that qualifier for months. Each deployment blurs into the next. Different country, different language, same mission. Find the target, fix his location, finish him. The men beside you rotate, get injured, get promoted, or get out. The work stays the same. You start to notice the work is changing you in ways you didn't anticipate. You're better at violence and worse at everything else. You can clear a room in 3 seconds and can't sit through dinner with your girlfriend without scanning every entrance and cataloging every face. She asks if you're okay. You say yes because that's what you've been trained to say, and because the truth would require explanations you're not authorized to give, and emotions you're not sure you still have access to. Level 4. The Senior Operator. E6 Petty Officer First Class, leading Petty Officer of your platoon. You're responsible for the junior guys now. The new guys who remind you of yourself 6 years ago. Eager, undertrained, convinced they're invincible. You were the same way. You know better now. You've been to enough memorial services.
You've carried enough flag-draped coffins. You've seen what happens when eagerness outpaces judgment. An operator on your second platoon took a corner too fast during a raid and caught a burst of automatic fire in the chest. His plate stopped most of it. One round found the gap under his arm. He bled out in 4 minutes while the medic worked and the rest of the team finished the clearance, because the mission doesn't stop for casualties. Not until the building is secure. He was 24. You run the platoon's daily operations now. Training schedules, equipment maintenance, readiness reports. The paperwork nobody imagines when they think about being a SEAL. For every hour of combat, 1,000 hours of preparation. Gear lists, intelligence briefings, rehearsals, communications checks, medical inventories. You've become an administrator who occasionally kicks down doors. The transition is disorienting. You joined to be a warrior. You're becoming a manager. But you understand now why it matters. Preparation keeps people alive. The platoon that skips steps lose men. Your body shows the mileage. Knees creak from thousands of parachute landings. Back aches from years of carrying 80 pounds through mountains and deserts and urban rubble. Hearing diminished on the left side from a breaching charge that detonated too close. The VA will rate this someday. Right now, there's another deployment on the calendar. You tape your ankles and swallow ibuprofen like candy and tell the corps men you're fine. Everyone tells the corpsman they're fine. The corpsman knows you're all lying. Level 5. The Chief. E7. Chief Petty Officer. The most important rank in the SEAL teams. Ask anyone and they'll tell you the same thing. Officers plan operations. Chiefs make them work. You're the platoon chief now. 16 men under your direct leadership. The platoon commander is an 03, a lieutenant, younger than you by 4 years and less experienced by a decade. He graduated from Annapolis. He's smart, motivated, and well-educated. He's also never been shot at. You have dozens of times. Your job is to turn his plans into a reality without getting anyone killed and without making him feel like you're running his platoon, even though you are. This is the delicate balance of the chief. You lead by experience, not rank. Store when his scheme of maneuver will get the rear element caught in a crossfire. You pull him aside and explain quietly. He listens, because junior officers who don't listen to their chiefs make the news for the wrong reasons. Your 7th deployment. A nighttime raid on a compound where a bomb maker operates. His devices have killed 14 Americans in 6 months. You've briefed your team using their photos as motivation. The intelligence is solid. The plan is sound. Everything goes wrong anyway. The entry point is barricaded. The breach fails on the first attempt. The target opens fire through walls. One of your operators takes a round in the leg. Femoral artery nicked. Blood pooling fast. You drag him behind cover. Apply a tourniquet so tight he screams. Call the QRF.
and continue directing the assault while rounds punch through the plaster around you. The target is killed. Your operator survives after 8 months of rehabilitation. The mission is classified a success. You write the after-action report on a helicopter with his blood still drying on your gloves. Nobody will ever read it, except people with the right clearance. Level 6. The marriage. This isn't a rank. It's what happens between the ranks. It's the part the recruitment videos don't show. Your marriage ended during your 5th deployment. She called it irreconcilable differences. The difference was that you left for 6 months at a time and came back as someone she didn't fully recognize. Each deployment stripped away something civilian and replaced it with something operational. She'd find you at 3 a.m.
standing in the backyard, scanning the trees for threats that don't exist in suburban Virginia Beach. Your kids are 8 and 11. Your son stopped asking when you'd be home. He checks the calendar on the refrigerator and counts the days himself. Your daughter drew a family portrait in school. You're not in it. Not because she forgot, because her teacher asked her to draw the people who live in her house, and you don't. You live in team rooms and safe houses and aircraft. You keep the drawing in your locker. You look at it before every deployment, and it hurts in a way that bullets never have. You've been shot at in 7 countries, and none of it produced the specific ache of knowing your daughter doesn't count you as someone who lives in her world. The men around you carry the same weight. Divorce rates in the SEAL community hover near 90% by some estimates. The men who stay married are either lucky or married to someone extraordinary, or both. The rest accumulate ex-wives and child support, and weekends that never feel long enough, and phone calls from deployment that arrive at the wrong time zone and always end with someone crying. This is the price. It doesn't appear on any citation or promotion board, but it's the cost that breaks more operators than combat ever does. The bullets you can train for, the loneliness you can't. Level 7. The Senior Chief. 8. Senior Chief Petty Officer. Fewer than 2,500 Senior Chiefs in the entire Navy. In the SEAL community, a fraction of that. You've been selected by a board of Master Chiefs who reviewed every evaluation, every deployment, every commendation, every failure in your career. You made the cut. Most don't. You're the operations senior chief for an entire SEAL team now. 4 platoons, 64 operators, plus support staff. You coordinate training cycles, deployment schedules, equipment across the command. You're the bridge between the commanding officer's intent and the platoon chiefs who execute it. When the CO wants the truth, not the sanitized briefing version, he comes to you. You deploy less now. When you do, you stand in tactical operations centers watching drone feeds of raids you would have led 5 years ago. You feel something unexpected. Envy. You miss the simplicity. Door breach clear. Next room. Now everything is meetings and logistics and risk assessments, written for people in Washington who've never heard a shot fired in anger. You've started attending funerals for men who didn't die in combat. Suicides. 4 in the last 2 years from your extended community. One was a man you mentored from his first platoon. You taught him sniper wind calls. You stood beside him at his wedding. He sounded fine 3 weeks before he died. He laughed about something his kid did. You believed him because believing was easier than asking the harder questions. The harder questions being the ones you don't ask because you're afraid of what the answer will require you to do. You attend the memorial, and his mother looks at you like maybe you're the someone to blame. You don't have answers. You just show up because showing up is what chiefs do. You've been doing this for 20 years, and the funerals are getting heavier, not lighter. The ones that weren't combat are the ones that haunt you most. Level 8, the Master Chief. E9, Master Chief, Petty Officer. The highest enlisted rank in the United States Navy. Command Master Chief for a Naval Special Warfare Group. Thousands of operators and support personnel across multiple teams. You're the senior enlisted advisor to a Rear Admiral. Your job is to be the voice of every enlisted SEAL in the command. You sit in Pentagon briefings where decisions are made by people who've never put on body armor. You testify before oversight committees using language that is carefully honest and strategically incomplete, because that is how the game is played at this level. You sign condolence letters. You review after-action reports, looking for the line between acceptable risk and recklessness.
You sit in living rooms with gold star families and look at photographs of men you sent into situations where dying was a realistic outcome. Sometimes a mother asks if her son suffered. You tell her he didn't. You don't always know if that's true. You shake hands with senators who voted for the wars and smile, because political support requires smiling at people who will never understand what this costs. Your body is a catalog of damage. 2 knee replacements, a fused vertebra in your lower back, titus so constant you've forgotten what silence sounds like. A shoulder rebuilt with titanium after a fast rope insertion went wrong on your 8th deployment. You've been in for 25 years. You've been married twice. The first ended because of the job. The second survived because she was a nurse who understood broken people and didn't need you to be whole. She sits with you on nights when the dreams come back. She doesn't ask what you dreamed. She makes coffee and sits beside you till your breathing slows. She is the reason you haven't become one of the statistics you keep attending funerals for. You know this. You tell her sometimes, not often enough. Level 9, the Trident. You retire. 28 years. The ceremony is small. A team room at the Naval Special Warfare Compound in Virginia Beach. 50 people attend. Not politicians, not generals, not public affairs officers. The operators, the chiefs, the men who went through the same doors you went through and came out the other side. Your CEO reads a citation that describes your career in language that is technically accurate and emotionally insufficient. 11 deployments, 9 combat tours, a silver star for carrying a wounded teammate 400 meters under fire to an extraction point while returning fire with your secondary weapon. The citation doesn't mention you were wounded too.
You didn't notice until the adrenaline faded and the medic pointed at the blood running down your arm. A shadow box is assembled. Your trident, your rank insignia, your patches, your coins, your career reduced to objects behind glass. You move to a house near the water because you've spent your entire adult life near the ocean and don't know how to be without the sound of it. You take a contractor job because they want your clearance and your contacts, and they'll pay 3 times your military salary. The work is adequate, it's not the same. Nothing will be. Your body wakes you at 5 a.m. because 28 years of muscle memory don't understand retirement. You run slower now, brace on your knee, earbuds loud enough to cover the ringing that never stops. You stay connected to the community. You mentor young operators who call about deployments and marriages and the darkness that settles in quiet months. You tell them the Trident is the most important thing you'll ever earn and the most dangerous thing you'll ever carry, because it becomes your entire identity if you let it. Some listen, most nod, and return to the team room because they're 26 and invincible. You were the same. You tell them anyway. Level 10, the cycle. Somewhere in Coronado right now, a class is forming on the beach. 180 candidates standing in the sand, shivering in the pre-dawn darkness, staring at a brass bell they swear they'll never ring. They've watched the movies, they've read the books, they're dreaming of the Trident. They have no idea what it costs. They don't know about the deployments, the doors kicked in at 2 a.m., the split-second decisions that will replay in their dreams for decades. They don't know about the marriages that won't survive the 4th deployment, the children who draw family portraits without their fathers, the funerals for friends who survived combat, but not the silence that followed.
They don't know about the VA waiting rooms, and the titanium joints, and the ringing that never stops, and the nights spent walking the perimeter of a suburban house, looking for threats that aren't there. They don't know the Trident pin will become the heaviest thing they own. Heavier than the body armor, heavier than the rucksack, heavier than the teammates they'll carry to helicopters under fire. They just know they won't quit. They're standing on that beach with 180 hearts beating and 180 minds convinced they are different, that they will be the ones who make it. Most won't. The bell will ring over and over in the coming weeks. The ranks will thin, the beach will empty, and the ones who remain, the 34 or 30 or 28 who refuse to ring that bell, will earn the Trident.
They will become the most capable warriors on the planet. They will also become strangers to the people who love them, ghosts in their own lives, carrying classified memories and bodies that wear out decades before they should. They don't know this yet, they just know they won't quit. That's enough to start. It was never enough to